And we're back. Hi. So this video is a few days apart from the other one. Really warm today, so that's the change of clothing, and it's been a few days, so that's what's happening in the background. Okay. Sorry, by the way, if you hear a lot of noise outside. There are construction workers here working on the facade of the building right next to mine. So that's what that is, if you hear it. So I decided to split the video because I got through about 20 questions in 18 minutes and I have 68 of them, so that's why we're splitting them. There could be a third video, we don't know yet, so let's get right back into it. So what do you think makes a goalkeeper good? What attributes or skills does a goalkeeper need? Game perception. The basics with movements, etc. is enough if you have good game perception. It's a good way of putting it, that you can actually get it goes a long way just knowing the basics. The basics is what it's all about. So when stuff goes down, like when you get stressed, or if you have really good basics to fall back on, that will get you a long way, and then you can add the game perception as you move along. Next one, a stable ground position with great reflexes. So again, with reflexes and reactions, they're not the same thing, so please look that up. The ability to read the game and lay one step ahead. Yeah, so back to game perception. And a good short comment. What do you need? Reading game, so game perception. Okay, so here's a media comment. There's a bit more in this one, and we're starting to see a pattern here, because this one begins with the most important thing is reading the game. So we're back to game perception. After that comes movement. That's good. I like movements. Movement is kind of my thing. It's easy to save when you know where the shot's gonna come. Adding there the ability to move fast and being as big as possible. If you're big and in the right position, you might not even need reflexes. But of course, every goalie is different. I'm 190 centimeters tall and used to be a field player. So I'm quite big and read the game well. I love it when goalies make saves with the body, means they dominated the situation. Yeah, okay, so this is great. This is really great, because these kind of saves don't get nearly enough media attention. This is the kind of save where players say, I shot the goalie right in the chest, or the commentator says that it was not a good shot, or I'm sure you recognize this. Whereas actually that's most likely a controlled save that's quite intricate anyway, like pretty difficult to do, because you need to move in the right time, in the right way, and then end up in the right place. So yeah, positioning saves, love them. Right, okay, size, agility, speed, hand-eye coordination. Hand-eye coordination is another thing that I love, next to movements. So it's your ability to process information and then make an action based on that information. And it's how quickly you process that information. So when you see something, for instance a shot, you follow the entire shot with your head, you move your hand along with it and tell your hand what to do. So that's basically hand-eye coordination, as opposed to reflexes where you don't look, you just react. Reactions, you just react, you just move without processing the information. Size actually makes a difference, I agree. Agility is something I could also get into, agility and mobility, because being passively having a big range of motion in your muscle is not the same thing as having agility. So to avoid this video getting too long again, please look up mobility and agility. They're great aspects to the game. And then speed comes back to movements, which is great. So just practice a lot of movements and you will get faster. Number 29. Ability to read the game, reactions, positioning, and head tracking. Okay, so ability to read the game. So again, game perception, reactions, positioning, and head tracking. So reactions, good. Positioning, which like in the previous one relates back to moving. And then there's head tracking, which is related to but not similar to hand-eye coordination. So in my mind, that's basically your ability to follow objects, in this case a shot or a ball, with your eyes, with your head. So how fast you can do this right here. So if you lose the object somewhere along the way, you weren't able to follow it, then your head tracking is on. So it's related but not exactly the same. It was nice to see that comment in there. So, 30. Goalkeeper needs good mental attitude, and goalies don't need to stress all the time. I like that because, especially for faster goalies, they tend to move a lot, like follow every pass all the time. But if we relate this back to game perception, to be able to know when, like, which passes you need to follow and not, it gives you time to be able to sit back, follow the right movements, instead of stressing all the time. So I don't know if that's exactly what this person was after, but that's my interpretation of it. This is from William Stenman1 on Instagram. He says that a goalie has to have the mental strength and mindset. If you have the right mindset of goal setting and such, the physical part of the game will come easy, in my opinion. A good keeper is also always humble and knows that they can learn something from everyone else. Can acknowledge his own mistakes and learn from them, as well as you have to be able to see your weak points and work on them. I could write an essay on this topic, but these are the fundies. I like that word, fundies. These are the fundies that I have thought about. So I'm not going to comment too much on this comment. Instead, I urge William Stenman to actually write this essay, and if you do, please post it. I will read it. I will be interested to see this essay, so get to it, man. I will read. Number 32. This person includes a comment in the end where it says, may include some faults on grammar. I do faults on grammar all the time, so don't worry. I don't care how many mistakes you make with grammar and spelling, as long as you share your wisdom for others to take part in, to take and then develop. That's all that matters. I mean, you have to deal with my Swinglish when watching these videos anyways. Point number 1, handling pressure. Forwards and defenders can make mistakes, but goalies' mistakes almost always leads to a goal. And because there can only be one keeper in the net at a time, competition can be tough. So that's kind of both our blessing and our curse. Like, there can only be one. So when you get in the net for a game, you're there for the entire game. And when you get put aside, you're on the sidelines for the entire game. And I think there's a cool aspect to it, because you actually really have to fight for that spot. And then when you get to play, you get to play. It's not like being a third liner where you can jump in and do maybe one change to let the first and second liners rest, and then you're off the game again. It's back and forth. So when you earn your spot, you're there. And it creates a cool rivalry, friendship, relationship with the other goalie in your team. Like, you have to be opponents, but you have to support each other. It's one of the best feelings there are to be part of a goalie duo, in my opinion. Floorball IQ, the second point, and handling different moving techniques. For example, a good goalie understands when he can move forward from the net, when it's wiser to wait for the pass, maybe one-timer, and then be closer to the goal, as opposed to being further out. There are some examples from Finland with goalies with good ability of reading the game. And sorry in advance for butchering these names, but I'm gonna try to say them. Jonas Kaltiainen and Lassi Toriseva. They're not so big guys like Kosonen or Pyry Lokonen, but they still don't let so much space behind them, because they understand different situations of the game, and much of the time they're able to stay one step ahead of the field players. And also they have a great ability for moving, which why many of the times they can cover so much of the net with their entire body, as opposed to saving only with your hand or making desperate saves. Also, a goalie has to be at a very fit condition, so the keeper can stay in their stance for a long time without getting tired and losing focus, and can move smoothly, which, as it says in the end here, demands good motor skills and coordination. They're also important. Yeah, so good comment, good long comment, and that's what I like. Get all your thoughts in there, share everything you know, because the more you write down stuff that you find important, the more you kind of actually teach yourself what you think is important, so it helps you. And it also helps the people who get to take part in what you're writing. That's very good. Goalie needs good hand-eye coordination, good game perception, good lower body strength, good leg strength, calm mind, quick decision making, and the will to get better every day, and the will to work even off season. So some of these things are universal, I think, like the will to work for it and then work in the off season. That's something everyone needs. And then the decision making, that's so important. That's also kind of universal. The player who receives the ball has to be really aware of what's going on, and just whatever decision you make it quickly. And if that decision doesn't turn out well, if it's a practice anyway, so be it. Just practice making those quick decisions, because that will help you so much in the end. And then there's stuff that we've talked about, like hand-eye coordination and game perception and good physical status. Absolutely. What do you think makes a goalkeeper good? Reflex. What do you think makes a goalkeeper good? Determination. This summer came out of nowhere. It's so warm. Alright. Have mind, body and heart in place to feel good about performance physically, self-control, controlling emotions, and keep the calmness / be aggressive when needed. Focus and love what you do what you love. I really like this comment because it focuses on the awareness of self, your emotions, doing what you love and loving what you do, because they are so important components, and they're hard to manufacture. Like they're there or they're not. Like I had a bunch of jobs before I became a goalie coach or a floorball coach full time, so eventually I was just fed up and I had to pursue what I loved, which is what I'm doing now, and it's the best thing that's ever happened to me. It's the best thing that ever happened to me, to be clear. I don't think we need to dwell too much on this comment. It's perfect the way it is. Controlling your emotions, keep the calmness, and learn when to be aggressive. Learn how to focus and try to love what you do. Speed, reflexes, constance. Not too sure about what that means in this context. So instead of trying to infer too much, like I talked about in the other video, we're gonna move along. Speed, which again relates to movements for me, and then reflexes. Again, look up reflexes versus reactions. They're not the same thing, and they're both very important though, but one you can practice, one you can't. Right, a Swedish comment. A goalie needs to have extra good game perception to be able to read the situations before they happen, to be able to get there in time and save the ball. So yeah, put extra pressure on the game perception, because yeah, another comment before said to stay one step ahead, and it's not a bad thing if you manage to stay 2 steps ahead. So what they do in chess, they stay 2 or 3 or even more moves ahead. I don't know chess, but they stay more moves ahead to be able to predict what's going to happen. There is a danger here though, that you can actually read too much into the situation, like okay, this is going to happen and then that's going to happen and then probably this is going to happen. And if the chain of events doesn't go that way, that could be a problem. So try to incorporate staying pressed and staying in the moment as well. A goalkeeper who is good shows it in his or her aura. This becomes natural when you are good because of your confidence. A goalie as well has to be a good leader. So this makes it a little tricky. So you have to be good to have the confidence, and then when you have the confidence, you can show it off with a good aura. And here's my take on that: fake it until you make it. It works. Trust me. Being able to be a leader, yeah, I wouldn't say you have to be. If you can be a leader, it's not a bad thing though. I don't think you have to be one. Have a good vision for the game, being able to foresee where the ball is going to move next, be attentive to new challenges, and take on feedback, both positive and negative. Have understanding for the way your game is built, so your game plan basically, and being able to place your defenders in a good way if they are in your way. Know where your posts and your crossbar on your goal is. So we're back to game perceptions, like trying to determine what's going to happen, And then the feedback about positive and negative. So when you give feedback, please try to keep it constructive, not negative. Negative feedback is not a good thing. That's never a good thing. So constructive is, that's what helps you grow. So positive, always positive reinforcement, always a good thing. And then mix it up with some constructive criticism. Good comment. Knowing your boundaries, your posts, your crossbar. That I believe is also important, especially when you do things like react on a shot and you stretch your entire arm out to get that save. Then the confines of the like the goal, the post might end here, and you've reacted too far. So absolutely, stuff. You need confidence, you need the will, and you have to have the ability. Okay, good way to sum it up. You have to have the ability. Then I guess you can make up what that ability really is. Okay, a longer Swedish comment. That's good, I like that. I've been a goalie for 8 years in Skåne, which is a southern part of Sweden. I believe that you can never lose your focus or your mind. You always have to have your mind set on saving. Sometimes you have to be, at the same time you have to be focused every situation that occurs, every attack, etc. So you should be able to read the attacker's pattern, what it has been like. Sorry about that. So you have to be able to read the attacker's pattern the way it was before, like if the same thing happens again. So if you've been exposed to something that maybe they scored or just did something dangerously, you need to be able to recognize what happens. Okay, this is that, I know what's going to happen, and then react accordingly or act accordingly. Physically, there's not that much to discuss. There's nothing wrong. It's not a bad thing being a big goalie, I agree. I've always wanted to see a sumo wrestler in the net. So they actually did this experiment on something called Sports Science, I think it was called, I'm not too sure. They actually put a sumo wrestler in a hockey net, and they took a kind of a brawler, so not a sniper, someone who's a decent player with the stick anyway, and they let him snipe on this sumo hockey goalie, and the scoring was not an issue. Maybe the sumo wrestler wasn't big enough, or I don't know. For floorball, we still have to see what happens if we put a sumo wrestler in a floorball net. Okay, so know your teammates, think like your teammates. It's important for throwing and defense to be able to fit into the machine, like the way the team plays. So a good goalie depends a bit on how the team's game plan is set up. If you have a really good throw, then hopefully you have a really sharp forward who knows who can complement your throw, receive it in a good way, make something good out of it. And then you also have to have a game plan that allows your forward to take that run. Reaction is nice. That's what it says. Reaction is nice. You agree? A goalie, like all athletes, have to have a goal in life/sport. You need to aim for something, otherwise you're not going to get far. And a good goalie might not be satisfied with good, but instead wants to go further and get better and better. I agree. That I like. That I really like. So don't set a limit. Set a goal, but not a limit. I wanna reach there. Okay, and then when you've done that, you go for another goal and another one, and just keep on improving. Because I believe, like I said in the other video, if your goal is to improve, constantly improve, there's really no limit to how good you can be, because you're improving, always doing better than you did. You're beating yourself. Nice short comment here. You need talent and motivation. Talent, a bit of a controversy these days. So, talent, are you born with it? I don't know. I'm throwing the question out there. I'm not sure. Motivation, yeah. However, motivation is fleeting. Motivation can pass. Like today, I woke up with a lot of motivation because we have nice weather, a bit too warm for me, but still, that motivated me to get moving. If you can find a source of motivation or inspiration that lasts, then that will be something to go for. Presence. Focus on what happens right here, right now, with the ability of moving on to the next opportunity. Okay, so I'm reading into this slightly, so moving on to the next opportunity. So to me that means like if they scored, your ability to move on to the next opportunity, because the next shot that comes towards you is an opportunity for you to make another save. And then presence, staying right here, right now. I believe a lot in that as well. Not let your mind drift too much. Eye and hand coordination. We're back to this, and I like it. Hand-eye coordination. Again, just to make sure, look up hand coordination, it's good stuff. You need to be a blade and ball reader. Knowing the ability of a right or left shooter in different positions. Good. We are now getting even more into the spectrum here, so you not only need to take into account what the player is doing and how you need to move, you need to take into account the angle of the blade, if it's a left or right shooter, because that gives them different options. So absolutely good.